This conference will now be recorded.
Hello. So we'll start where we left yesterday, and few things we need to correct before we move forward. So first thing is uh, this verify list user is still using the earlier the methods what we created, but as we created a API helper class and you are using that's all the methods from this, so we should use those. Okay, so okay, but before going to modify this, let me a few things I would explain. First thing is API helper. Yesterday we saw we created two requests. Sorry, yeah, create post and create get. In a similar manner, there will be not much changes for the put and delete. Okay, so I can say this is put request. Okay, and here we need to change. Okay, and the rest thing will be same. And as we have for the get request, we need to create one delete request as well, right? Currently I'm not parameterizing anything here, uh, but you can do later based on your requirement. So I am saying based on your requirement. So see, when you delete any resource from the server that requires uh, unique ID, unique ID of that resource that we need to pass into the URL as a parameter, right? So there we need, but currently this, uh, okay, we don't require. So, all right, so this helper class, now we have everything for our purpose. Okay, let's go to give some time to this demo class we created yesterday. And what we observe here, this get users, which is, yeah, so I was saying this get user uh, is not required to have all these things creating a client request and all, because all these things we have moved to the API helper class, right? So first thing we need to make this okay, so let me start. I will comment all these first, or maybe not all the things, only these things I'll just comment. Okay, so method I means test, I created a new create new user. What I'm doing here, I'm creating object of this API helper. I'm using the methods of that API helper class, set URL. Then I'm again uh, creating a request, then response, and then converting it to the objects, means deserializing object. So this doesn't do the justice with the test. Mostly in the test, we should focus on uh, writing the steps to validate the things, right? But apart from that, we are doing a lot of things here. So uh, in my point of view, we should refactor this. And what it will happen, suppose going forward, I'll create another test. Same thing, I need to create multiple times this, right? So suppose there is a in some test case, 2-3 APIs are involved. Like there's just your kind of end-to-end flow, like creating user, then modifying something, then assigning some role. So suppose it involves 3 APIs you have to perform. So for each API, each time you have to create this much of code you need to write inside the your test script. Okay, so suppose I'll just copy and it will look like this. If it is involved 3 APIs, I will need to change the DTO here. Maybe first user, then something uh, role, and some other things which involve. So see how my test is looking. It's not looking nice, right? So that is the purpose. I don't want to write everything in this test script. Then what should we do? Because we already have API helper class which gives uh, everything whatever we have, like all the creating a request, getting response, deserializing, and the test we can create. But the problem will have that every time we need to write this 5 lines of code for each API, each endpoint we want to interact. So that doesn't look good. So for that purpose, we need to come to this demo class what we created earlier, and that's how we can refactor our code. Okay, so let's utilize uh, this method, get users, and whatever things we are doing here, right? Okay, all the things what we are doing here, let's copy and paste it here. Okay, and this get users. Okay, this is for the get users, right? So we don't need this. Okay, this I think I pasted in the wrong method. I think this belong to this one because the test is. We'll modify that one also, but after some time. But for now, right? And this requires. Uh, it requires. It requires a payload, right? And even this API, I don't want to hard code in this class at least. Okay, so that also I want to parameterize. So what I can do, I can parameterize this string endpoint, I can say. Okay, and this payload also kind of a string, but what I would prefer to say dynamic. Sorry, and let me know if we have question why I'm making it writing dynamic instead of a string. Okay, so here I would say payload. Okay, so payload, this we parameterize, and this I can remove, and I can say endpoint. The dynamic, it decide the data type at the runtime. It ignores the data type, whatever we have assigned at the compile time. Okay, so it ignores compile time. So whatever at runtime, whatever this method will get, okay, then it will decide like what type of the C# has this dynamic data type. So at the runtime, it will decide like what are the variable this method is receiving from where it was called. So based on that, it will decide the data type. Okay, and the where is actually what it does. It when we write this sentence, so when we compile this, so it checks the data type at the compilation time, and dynamic checks the data type at the runtime. So that's the difference. Okay, so all right, so this is done. um, and so here we are suppose what I'll return from okay, so I can say return. Okay, now what I'm doing, all those creating object of the desired DTO type, means from this API helper class, and then setting creating a client. So this set URL will create a client, then we can create a request of whatever type we need, and the response we get, right? And then we can deserialize and return to the from where it was called, uh, about that. So okay, let's wait for 5 minutes. uh, Not 5 minutes. So okay, we are done with this method. So for each request type, I need to create a one method. So for create user, I have this. Same way, for the get users, I'll create the in very similar way. Okay. So what I can do, I can now I can just delete everything. Okay. I'll just modify this user. So we'll have one get, one create. Okay. So here what I can say, suppose user only, I can say new API helper, and now what I need a list of users TTO in this type of object I need. Okay, and then URL I need to create user set URL, and endpoint I need to send here, right? So I need to parameterize this method. Okay, let's focus on this and try to understand why we are doing this, why we are creating different methods in this demo class. So remember this, for each endpoint you need to create a method. Okay, like this way. So whatever method name you want to give, you can give, but each method will do the job whatever you were doing here earlier. So all these things will be done in the demo class now. Okay, I'll just okay, right, where request. So we have a get request, right? And then list of this DTO type of objects we need to map, right? So get request, no, get response we need here. Sorry, get content, and list of users DTO and response we need to pass here. I think one step we missed here. Get response, and URL and the request we need to send here. Okay, so typo is here. Yeah, and we need to return this. All right. So now whatever things we were doing in the regression test, now we will do from here. Okay. So my demo class is updated as we want. Now let's modify first this create user. Okay. Now I can delete till here. Okay. And I think I can delete this one as well. So now I need to create this uh, the demo class, right? But the problem is we every time we need to pass this different kind of DTOs. Okay. Sometimes it will be when we create object of this demo class. Sometimes we need to pass user DTO, means sometimes we need to pass this create user DTO. So what was the solution we made earlier? It was making it a generic class, right? So that making generic class will help us to solve this problem of uh, creating object of different data transfer objects. Okay. Now in my test, I can go and now what I can do, uh, name whatever you want to give. Suppose I say demo, and I need to create object of this demo class. And here I need to which kind of DTO I need a create user, right? So this I need, and right, okay, and then what we need, we can access methods of this. I can say suppose user demo dot. Now see the method we just created, that create user. If you go to demo, this method we are talking about, it requires endpoint and payload. Okay, so dot create user. Okay, first parameter is endpoint. Okay, so what was the so API was, I think, API users, I guess, and the other payload, I think already we have this. I can utilize this, right? So that's it. Now we got everything here, and in place of this content, I just write user. Okay, now see, in only 2 lines we did this. Okay, earlier it was 5 lines. So making this demo as a generic class, and just I'm just creating object of this while means this demo class, and accessing the required method and passing the uh, parameters like API, which API I want to call. So this great create user will work for any other endpoint as well, basically if it related to API users. Okay, so okay, let's debug, and before debug I think we need to fix above as well. So here what again I need to do, see, I'm just creating object of now list of user here, and user, what I can say, yeah, and what it's require endpoint. Okay, so I think I can go to here. This was the endpoint, I guess. Right. Okay, now I can just replace user and okay, now we fix the problem. Okay, let's put a breakpoint here. Okay, and just debug it, and just to resolve if any issue we have or any error. So now you see how my code is optimized and the test scripts looks very clean, and a few lines of code only will work. So that the basic purpose of designing. I don't want to expose everything to my test, that is a regression test. So I just wanted to hide implementation of those things behind uh, and I don't want to expose everything like here in the test so that everyone can go and based on there they can change things. So I want to hide complexity of implementation. Okay, that's the purpose of object-oriented programming. So let's debug. Now it will go to the demo class. Okay, you see. Now if you see, this type would be because of generic. So we are passing here. It will create now. If I just debug, it will go to the API helper class. Okay, and then here in this we set URL again. It will call the API helper class methods. It will set the URL. Okay, just make sure we have correct URL. Yeah, now it will create the request. It will call the API this create get request. It will return. Now it will create go to the API helper response. It will execute. So it executed. It come back here. It will deserialize. Okay, and it will okay, and let's go back. And this it will return the contents to my test. Okay, now see this user will have all the information, the object and the details, everything. Okay, now my first test case is passed. Okay, so let's debug from here. All right, press F11. Okay, so it created actually a object. Okay, so this it's basically in this line of code it's creating an object of this demo class, this class, but now it's a generic class. So we are passing, we are saying the type of this is list of users DTO. Okay, so that because we need in our test, then we go to this class because we are calling this get user. It went to the get user. It will set all these things, and here it will call the API. We are creating object of API helper. Okay, with the list of DTO users mapping, and then set URL and all those things. Whatever we are doing in helper class, that will be called in this. Now you are seeing the difference. Earlier API helper class was directly called in this regression test, but now it is hidden now, not directly we are calling in the regression. We are calling this demo, and the demo will call this API helper class. So end user, whoever writing the test, doesn't know how it is implemented. Okay, so now it will create all the required things, client, request, response, and it will just return the required things. So we require only the content. This method will return to this variable, which will hold the all the deserialize objects, and we can just uh, validate here. So a lot of whatever assertion you want to include in your test, that you can do. Okay, and if I have to run all the tests at once, I can go and run. First is it is running the create new user. It took 2 seconds. The second 100 milliseconds, I guess. Okay, now the second question is, you ask one question. Suppose sometimes we need multiple data types. Okay, so suppose this we created. So suppose I want to like just wanted to see like whatever the ob users we created, like with this request, post request. Now I want to see the get users. I want to do it again. So what I can say, I can copy this. Okay, maybe some variable names we need to change here. Okay, so let's say uh, demo one, and this one just user one. You can give any name, whatever you want, and the same thing, user one, user one. Okay, so we combined two tests in a single test. So what in this test case, suppose verify verify that created users we are able to see in the get response. Something, suppose someone wrote a test case like this. So first a request will be create users, whatever users you want to create, and then just verify this. Okay, here I need to change one more thing, demo one. All right, so first time I created an object using this create user DTO. Second time I'm creating the demo class object with this users list of users DTO. In the suppose some test cases require multiples of like update some user, right? In the same test case, someone I wrote to update. So I create a same class object with a different DTO. So that the one of the biggest issues is resolved using making this class as a generic class. So I'm just creating a demo class object, but just saying what kind of object I need. Okay, so this will resolve that issue. We don't need to create multiples uh, objects for the different purpose. So if I run this, just this one create user, maybe just ran also, I think. Yeah, now it has two validation, means creating two objects and two, so that's why it is taking some more time, 2 seconds.